Most UFO investigators don't probe into the psychic area, either for lack of background in parapsychology or simply because they think they already know the answer and it must involve simple nuts and bolts spacecraft. It takes a very brave witness to bring up such experiences in the face of skeptical researchers. I don't believe a UFO observation makes anyone necessarily psychic, to use the popular terminology, but the phenomenon comes in an environment of manifestations that include heightened awareness of synchronicities, paranormal sounds and lights, and occasional absurd coincidences similar to those described in the poltergeist literature. That's a quote from Jacques Vallée, recounted in Chapter 9 of Andy Colvin's book, The Mothman's Photographer 3, which is a compendium of information on just such types of things. Anyway, welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. And boy, there is a lot of stench out there today, folks. I want to note a word of sorrow and commiseration for the people of Japan, as the death toll from the earthquake and tsunami have topped 10,000 people, and that is truly a terrible tragedy. And also the acknowledgement that there may be a breach within one of the reactors at the Fukushima Daiichi plant. And earlier I made a video about how the nuclear situation in Japan was being blown out of proportion. And I still believe in a global context it is. Certainly, when you look at the actual situation here, we're dealing with a 9 Richter scale earthquake and a tsunami which struck this particular area of Japan, and these are not within the normal realm of things on any given day. So this is unprecedented in my mind, and the very fact that the majority of this situation is still being contained is a testament to the Japanese people and to the redundancy factor in nuclear power anyway. So I don't necessarily still look at this as an indictment of nuclear power as being a negative thing, and I still think it can be used for a positive generation of power. One just has to not build it on a fault next to the sea where you get tsunamis, and I think you'll be okay in the normal course of business. So while there may be a breach over there, and this may have ramifications for the Japanese people and for a wider swath of people as well, I still do not generally look at it as an indictment against nuclear power because of the unprecedented nature of the tragedy that happened over there. So I still have faith in the people of Japan and their ingenuity, their stick-to-itiveness, and their abilities, and I'm sure that they will get this problem resolved. Now, Syria is cracking down very hard on protesters as people are shot over there, and I guess that Syria, because it doesn't have water or oil like Libya, doesn't serve as any sort of national security thing for the United States, so people will continue to get killed over there, just like in Yemen. And I commented on the Israeli-Palestinian upscale in attacks and noted the retaliation by Israel for mortar and rocket attacks by the Palestinians. And one must keep these things in context. Some of the rockets fired into Israel have been claimed by Hamas, which I do not support at all. I don't care what they're doing. Any kind of terrorist acts or attacks by anybody from the Palestinian territory in Gaza is soundly and completely rebuked by me as counterproductive and terrorism, and it should be rebuked. However, one should note that the attacks from these rockets have resulted in no casualties. And Israel's response in almost every instance is overwhelming force. And the overwhelming force destroys vital functions within Gaza, hospitals and people's homes, and it does result in death. And in fact, you can look at Yahoo News and see a very peculiarly worded statement in regards to this, where they say the Palestinian rockets and mortars, some of which have been claimed to come from Hamas, have resulted in no deaths. Yet there has been some property damage. And they note that Israel, firing in retaliation, missed their target, quote unquote, and killed 3 children and their uncle. So anytime there are any civilian deaths as a result of Israeli overreaction, it's because they, quote unquote, missed their target. So one needs to keep these things in perspective. And of course, the war in Libya, that is not called a war, is still not producing the desired result, which is to have Gaddafi step down from power and, God knows what kind of coalition of anti-Gaddafi forces into power. Because it's not going well, more firepower is being considered. Russia is talking about a ground invasion, and I'm here to tell you, the initial statement of no boots on the ground in Libya is going to be famous last words, because this is going to drag on a lot longer than they're telling us it is. And while the so-called handoff to NATO of the leadership of this effort in Libya is just a thing in name only, because the vast majority of forces being used are United States. So now they're talking about bringing in gunships, and that's a closer step to actual forces on the ground. So don't be surprised, people, that this turns into another Iraq and Afghanistan. All this from your Nobel Peace Prizing winner, Barack Obama, the savior of the universe. I see very happily that Goldman Sachs is being sued by several pension funds for fraud, basically. And I can't be more happy. And I hope many more pension funds decide to sue various Wall Street vendors for causing tremendous loss within their pension funds. And this is the root of the problem in the pension funds, and the reason why supposedly various states are attacking public unions is because of the pensions. And in fact, it's fraud that brought about such a devastating loss to the pension funds in this country, and that should be addressed. And it couldn't happen to a greater bunch of people than Goldman Sachs, who I hate more than anything in the entire history of the universe when it comes to any economic firm. And of course, with all of the problems that we have in this country, the devastating losses in the housing market, the devastating losses in the pension funds, all precipitated by Wall Street fraud, mind you. Unemployment at unprecedented levels, even though they continue to jibe the numbers and to fix it so it seems like it's less than it is. And all of the other incredible economic crap that we are undergoing in this country. Attacks on public unions and everything else. You'll be happy to know that corporate profits are at an all-time high. So aren't we very happy? And of course, with corporate profits at an all-time high, CEO bonuses are at an all-time high. And I just want to point out the fact that General Electric, GE, made over $5 billion in profit. And you know how much they paid in taxes on that? Zero. Zero profits on zero taxes on $5 billion in profits. And do not forget that the CEO of GE was recently appointed by Obama as the quote-unquote jobs czar. Well, one should perhaps appoint him as the how to get out of taxes czar, because this is an indication of the real problem of what is the problem with the revenue in this country, and what is the problem with the deficit and the budget problems. It's because corporations like GE can make $5 billion in profits and pay absolutely nothing in taxes. How much do you pay in taxes? I'll bet it's not zero. Just a recap of news around the world, folks. Some good, some bad, but mostly not looking too good. Thank you. Good day.